One of the issues that's most important to me, and that's very important to the people out there, is Wall Street accountability. We just learned over the past 10 days that the largest banks around the globe have been essentially rigging interest rates, the LIBOR, or the London Interbank Offered Rate, which is set by the biggest banks in the world. And this rate determines interest rates that are attached to almost all the derivatives products in the world. Financial derivatives are essentially bets that the large banks make. So derivatives are financial products that derive from securities of another sort. Banks pool together financial securities, some type of debt instrument, whether it's a mortgage, a student loan, a credit card account, and then they chop it up and they resell it after they've pooled it together. And basically the interest rates that they'll get for these products are determined off of the LIBOR rate. Basically what it means is the rate that the large banks will charge each other to loan overnight. And that's a basic rate that's used across the world, not just for derivatives, but all sorts of interest rates are set off of this base interest rate. And the fact that the large banks have been manipulating it without relation to any free market or free market inputs to determine it has allowed them to skim off millions, billions. We don't really know how much money, but so much that it's a crime of epic proportions, and it has not been covered well in this country at all. So what we have here are banks bid rigging the system on a scale that's never before been seen. This follows on a story that the large banks in the United States have been doing the same thing with municipal bond auctions. So essentially every municipal bond auction in the country, in your town, in your city, without a doubt, the banks have been robbing states, towns, cities with every one of these bond auctions. This continues on the heels of the whole financial catastrophe, which was engineered by a housing bubble that was pumped up through false lending standards, and again, the creation of false derivatives products. It's really as simple as saying fraud. Fraud and racketeering, organized crime, the same basic things that the mob has been rightfully prosecuted for. And we can prosecute the banksters, or bankers, as they might be more commonly known, by enforcing rules that are already on the books. RICO, Sarbanes-Oxley was put in place just to prosecute crimes like this, where the upper management of the firms have a clear idea of the crimes that are being committed by the lower rungs, and they're required to sign off on their chief financial officer's reports on the finances of the company. They are committing fraud, they are breaking the law, and they need to be prosecuted. So we can enforce those laws if there are politicians down in Washington who will force the regulatory agencies to do their job. And if I get to go to Washington, when I get to go to Washington, I will make sure those regulatory agencies are doing that. And it's really encouraging for me to hear that people actually understand many of these issues, perhaps not the complexities, the nuances of interest rates, but people know when they're being ripped off. And it's clear to them that the politicians who are there, and many of the politicians who are running to challenge them, are not going to do the job. So that's why we need independents who aren't going to be taking money from this industry.